Hello and welcome to the core series. Today I'm going to take you through a routine where we're going to revisit our Swiss ball plank. We're going to do some work around the hips and we're going to finish up with a nice bridge sequence. So let's get straight into it. So we're going to start off on our Swiss ball. Now if you don't have a Swiss ball, you can just do the straight plank on your forearms or on your hands. Okay, but if we do have the Swiss ball, I just want you to interlace your fingers and then come up into the plank position. Feet about shoulder width apart, and we're just going to hold it there. So it's a fantastic exercise just to warm up the body. Now if we want to just drop the knees down and just get used to the balance, that's absolutely no problem. But if we're happy to do so, coming up onto the Swiss ball. Okay, having this uneven surface really challenges all our abdominal muscles. It's a great one for working on spinal stability, hips and shoulder strength. So let's hold it here. Drops in the knees at any point. Breathing into our belly. Let's lift the head up a little bit. If you feel like the hips are dropping, then just drop down to the knees, take a breather and rejoin us. Good work. And then drop down to the knees. Just take a quick breather. So that's the first one. We're going to do two more like that. So when we're ready, either onto the Swiss ball or onto our forearms for our normal plank. And when we're ready, let's come back up. Make sure we're not dropping through the shoulders. We're staying nice and strong through the shoulders. And we're just holding it here. So if we're on the Swiss ball, we're going to really feel it in lots of different places around the abdomen. It's going to really challenge our shoulders. Okay, a few more breaths here. And then dropping down to the knees and just take a couple of breaths. Okay, once we're happy to do so, let's get into our third and final rep. Again, line the ball up, get the forearms onto the ball, interlace the fingers. Again, we can be on our knees for this one if you're just getting used to the Swiss ball. If you're happy to do so, coming up onto the ball, and let's hold it here. So the plank is a fantastic static exercise. However, using the Swiss ball adds an element of dynamic movement into the equation and is really good for that next level of challenge. A really good one to incorporate into your week. Breathing into the belly. Keep the hips nice and level. Let's hold it here for a few more breaths. And let's drop down to the knees. Good work. Okay, just pop the Swiss ball off to the side. We'll be bringing that back into it for another round of that further in the sequence. So we're going to get into our one leg balancing now. So feet together. We're going to come up, raising the right knee up in the air. Now if this is challenging enough for you, stay here. No need to go any further. It's great for working hip stability, endurance and strength. Making sure the hips stay nice and level. But if you do want to take it a step further, we're sweeping that right leg behind. We're coming down. Now you can come down as far as you feel comfortable to do so, but make sure the body stays nice and square to the body, to the floor. The hips stay square, and we have even weight through that foot. So this is just a great pattern to work, to really challenge hip stability. It's really important how we stabilise the hip when we're on one foot. So when we're running, we only ever have one foot on the ground when we make contact. The rest of the time, we're flying through the air. Okay, and then coming back through, in control, raising that right knee up. Let's hold it here for a couple of moments. Shake the leg out if you need to. And again, if this is challenging enough for you, stay here. There's no need to go any further. But if you're happy to do so, sweep the leg back and come down, keeping the body square to the ground. We can raise that back leg up a little bit more. We can fold forward a little bit more, making sure the back's nice and flat. Aiming towards that T shape. Feel the soles of the feet working. Make sure we're not gripping with the toes, and make sure we're not balancing on our heel. Couple more breaths here. Really good for building balance through the back of the legs, through the hamstrings, into the calf. And then coming up nice and slowly. We've got one more of these. Good opportunity to shake the leg out. So moving between these positions in control is really key. It's not about building brute strength. It's about building good movement patterns, coordination, retraining the brain to fire the appropriate muscles. Okay, we're ready. Let's go for our third rep. Stay here if this is challenging enough for you. Come into our forward hip hinge if you want to take it a step further. So coming down, shoulders square to the ground. Nice balanced, even weight through the foot. Lifting that back leg up if you want to come down into your T shape. Make sure what we do in control. Good work. And then coming up in control and bringing the right foot down. Fantastic. Right, let's get into our right leg now. So get into good position before we lift that left leg up. Spread the toes out, even the weight through the foot, and lift that left leg up. Now, a great opportunity to highlight any imbalances here from left to right. It's a big part of all of these workouts to find where your imbalances are, so you can work on them. Now, if this is challenging enough for you, stay here, keep the leg up. But if you do want to take it one step further, we're sweeping that left leg back and we're hinging forward on that right leg. So again, make sure we're in control, make sure the body's square to the ground, making sure the fingertips are level, not twisting through the spine. Got a slight bend in the knee. Holding here in control. And then coming up. Sweeping that left foot through and holding here. Feel free to take a breather in between each rep. It's not about enduring the whole set. muscling your way through it. It's about retraining the body and giving the body good input. So stay here if this is challenging. If you want to take it a step further, sweeping that left leg back into our forward hip hinge on our right side. Again, a great exercise for highlighting imbalances between our left and right side, which is really key when we're looking at symmetrical sports like running, cycling, swimming, where we should be pretty even on both sides. Always going to be a little bit out of balance, always going to have a dominant side. We're looking for the big red flags, the big differences. Couple more breaths here. And then coming up nice and smoothly, raising that left knee up. So a good opportunity to shake that right leg out. It's going to be starting to fatigue a little bit now. Let's keep our breathing in check. And again, stay here if this is challenging. And let's go into the forward hip hinge if you want to take it a step further. Soften the shoulders, breathe deeply into the belly. If you are new to this movement, you can use a chair by the side of you just to practice the movement. Sometimes it's not a strength issue, it's just a balance and coordination issue that we need to work on. So a couple more breaths here. Good work. And then coming up in control. Bring that foot down. Well done. Okay, we're going to hop down onto the ground now for some side planks. So we're going to line ourselves up onto the mat here. Now we can start off with knees slightly bent and keeping the knees on the ground and using our elbow on the floor. So this is the first modification. We're driving the hips forward and we're holding it there. Now if this is challenging enough for you, stay here, keep the hips nice and tall. If you do want to take it a step further, we can come up onto the feet and stack the foot on top of the right foot. And let's hold it here. Make sure there's a nice flat line between your chest, through your stomach, and into the front of the legs. Let's hold it here. Make sure we're nice and supported through that shoulder. We're not dropping through that shoulder. So it's a really important line we're training here, all the way down the side of the body, through our hips. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And then coming down and take a breather. Okay, so when it comes to the shoulder, making sure we're not dropping through the shoulder, we're not hanging into that shoulder joint. We're bringing the shoulder right underneath and we're keeping it nice and stable. So again, we can come up for our second set, second rep, coming up onto the knees. And again, if this is challenging enough for you, stay here. There is no need to go any further. If you do want to take it a step further, come up, stack the left foot on top of the right foot, and let's hold it here. If anything's painful, drop down, Reposition yourself. And then come down. Good work. Take a quick breather, we've got one more on this side. So this is building stability down the side of our body. A key pattern for leg stabilisation and shoulder strength and stability. Okay, so last one. So up into the first modification, driving the hips forward, staying on the knees if you need to. Or we can come up into our second modification, stacking the feet on top of each other. Feel free to come down halfway through if you just need to take a breather. Drive the hips forward. A few more breaths here. Good work. Coming down. Okay, let's swap sides. So set yourself up on the mat. Get the elbow directly under the shoulder. We're going to come up into our first modification with the knees on the ground. Stay here if this is challenging. If you do want to take it a step further, we're coming up, stacking the right foot on top of the left side. Drive the hips forward. Lift the hips up. They'll have a tendency to drop down when they get a bit tired. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And coming down. Good work. Okay, we've got two more of them. So get your breath back. And when we're ready, we're driving up into our first modification. If you want to take it a step further, coming up into our second modification. Be very mindful of the shoulder. If it's too much, just revert back to the knees down. This is not easy, so just take your time. Couple more breaths here. And down. Okay. One more rep. So get your breath back. Press pause on the video if you need to just take a little bit more time. If you're ready and you're happy to do so, let's get into our third rep. Drive the hips up, staying on our knees. Staying here if this is challenging. If you do want to take it a step further, we're coming up onto our foot. And we're holding it here. Make sure we're not losing form. Quite hard on this third rep. A few more breaths here. Good work. And coming down. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to get the Swiss ball back out now for our second set of planks. So by now the body's feeling nice and warmed up. So again, if you haven't got a Swiss ball, just use the plank modification. So let's line the ball up. We can stay on our knees if needed, but if you're happy to do so, coming up onto the ball, we're going to hold it here. Keep the feet about shoulder width apart. Stay strong through the shoulders. And then dropping down to the knees. Okay, just sit back onto the heels. Get your breath back. This is hard work. Let's get ready for our second rep. Okay, so roll the ball out in front. And when we're ready, staying on our knees if that's challenging enough for you, or coming up onto the ball, making sure the elbows are nice and straight underneath the shoulders. Lift the head up. We've got a tendency to drop the neck down. Stay nice and tall. Keep the hips level. Breathing into the belly. And then dropping down to the knees. Okay, we've got one more rep of that. So sit back onto the heels. Get your breath back. Okay. If you're happy to do so, let's get into our third rep. So line the elbows up onto the ball. You can stay on the knees if needed. If you're happy to do so, coming up, it's our final one, but make sure that's good form. It's really easy for us to push ourselves too hard, lose form and then hurt ourselves. Let's just drop to the knees. If you need to take a breath. A few more breaths there. And then dropping down to the knees. Good work. So we're finished with the Swiss ball for today. You'll be pleased to know. Let's finish up with our bridge. So laying flat on the mat. We're going to have our feet about shoulder width apart. Hands down by our sides. Take a nice deep breath in. Then we're going to drive the hips up. Now we can keep the feet flat on the ground if needed. If this is challenging enough for you, stay here. If you're happy to do so, let's just lift the toes up off the mat. And if you want to take it one step further, we're going to raise the left leg up off the mat. So make sure we keep the hips nice and level. The tendency is for that left hip to drop down. Just keep driving up with that right leg. Have the hands face down on the mat. Slowly lower that left heel down and swap sides. raising the right leg up. So again, we can just stay in the straight bridge. If that's challenging for you, there's no need to go any further. Drive the hips up. And then bring that foot down and drop the hips down. So we're going to do 2 more of them. So when you're ready, let's get into the second rep. So drive the hips up. Stay in this first modification with the toes on the ground. If that's challenging enough for you, no need to go any further. If you do want to take it a step further, lift the toes up. So we're on our heels and just practice that one. But if you do want to take it one step further again into the third modification, we're raising that left leg up. So we don't have to raise it to any height, it can just be off the ground. And the main key is that we're trying to stabilise through the hips, keep them balanced. So just raising the leg up a little bit higher just increases the lever, increases the pressure a little bit. Okay, a few more breaths here. And then in control, drop that left heel down and raise the right leg up. So you can take a breather at any stage, drop down, rejoin us. It's not a race. We're not trying to hammer out a lot of repetitions. We're listening to the body and we're going at your pace. So a couple more breaths here. And then lower that foot down. Drop the hips down. Take a breather. We've got 1 more. This is the last one of the day. So get that breath back into control. Some challenging exercises in the session, but this is the last one. So let's finish strong. When we're ready, let's lift the hips up. So this is the first modification, stay here. No need to go any further with the toes on the ground. Second modification, lift the toes up. So we're on the heels. And if you want to take it 1 step further, we're raising that left leg up off the mat. So again, it doesn't need to go up to any height. Just make sure the hips stay nice and level. We're always having to correct ourselves. Lifting the hips up, they'll have a tendency to drop. Okay, it's a really challenging exercise, this one. Couple more breaths here. And slowly lower, in control. And raise the right leg up. Okay, this is the last one. Lift the hips up. Couple more breaths here. Fantastic. Drop the foot down. Drop the hips down. And let's finish up as we always do. The legs flat on the ground. Open up the feet. Turn the palms up to the ceiling. Okay, it's really important that we finish the session with some deep breathing to acknowledge the workout. We so often have to race off out of the door, off to work. So if you've got time, stay here. After all, good breathing mechanics are the foundation to core stability. Working that diaphragm, it's dropping down into our stomach, creating pressure within our stomach. Which is essential when we're looking at core stability. So take some nice deep breaths in, trying to breathe through the nose for 4 to 6, maybe 8 seconds in. Hold it right at the top of the inhale. And let's match the same duration on your exhale. We often breathe out too quickly. So slow that exhale. And again, nice deep breath in. Hold it right at the top. And then slowly breathing out. You don't have to be in sync with me. Just make sure there's that conscious awareness of the inhale and the exhale. You did a fantastic day, fantastic job today. Well done. If you've got 5 or 10 minutes spare, then I would thoroughly recommend you stay where you're at. Keep breathing. It'll set you up for the day, for whatever you've got ahead. It was awesome to have you on the mat today. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. And I look forward to seeing you on the mat tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much.